Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon. Councilmember Ambrose.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Foray. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Marriott.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Rush. Since I'm attending this meeting remotely and the Mayor Pro Tem is also not available this evening, we need to elect a presiding officer for this meeting. It is my understanding that Councilmember Pfeiffer is willing to be the presiding officer. Do I have a motion for Councilmember Pfeiffer to serve as the presiding officer for today's meeting?
Your Honor, could we do the excusal motion first?
Oh, absolutely, you're right. May I take motions to excuse Councilmember Foray and Mayor Pro Tem Mormon from this evening's proceedings?
So moved.
All right, Council, will you, since I do not have access to the voting machine, will you please give a voice vote when I call on you? Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Councilmember Marriott.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Councilmember Foray and Mayor Pro Tem are both excused from this evening's proceedings. All right. Now may I have a motion for Councilmember Pfeiffer to act as presiding officer for tonight's proceedings?
I move that Councilmember Pfeiffer be voted as a presiding officer today.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. I will also again take a voice vote. Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Pfeiffer, how are you feeling about this?
Sure. Yes.
Councilmember Marriott.
Yes.
Thank you. And with that, I will turn the gavel over to Councilmember Pfeiffer for this evening's proceedings. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I will call on Councilmember Marriott to lead us in a moment of silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you'll please join me in a moment of silent reflection. And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Thank you. Presented are the minutes of the City Council business meeting dated May 6, 2024. Are there any changes or correction? Seeing none, the minutes will stand as presented. Next, we have recognitions. Councilmember Davis will present the proclamation for Pride Month.
Thank you, Member Mayor. Why can I not think of your name?
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer. Whereas the Arvada City Council recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2024 as Pride Month throughout the city of Arvada, and the city of Arvada values and promotes diversity, inclusivity, and equality for all its residents, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. And whereas Pride Month is an internationally recognized celebration that honors the LGBTQ+ community, their rich history, and their ongoing efforts for equality and acceptance. And Pride Month provides an opportunity for individuals, organizations, and communities to come together in support of the LGBTQ+ rights and to raise awareness about the challenges faced by this community. And whereas the city of Arvada acknowledges and appreciates the contributions and positive impact of the LGBTQ+ community in our city's cultural, social, and economic fabric, and whereas Pride Month serves as a reminder of the ongoing work needed to achieve full equality and to create a society where all individuals can live free from discrimination and prejudice. And whereas the city of Arvada remains committed to furthering diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility through our internal DEI&A committee and the current engagement with a DEI&A consultant to improve our services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and members of City Council do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Pride Month in the city of Arvada, Colorado. In support of the LGBTQ+ community, the city will illuminate the Arvada Water Tower on June 21st to raise awareness of the celebration.
Is anyone accepting it?
Does anyone here? Would anyone like to accept this proclamation? Awesome sauce.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll get that to the right people. And next we have Councilmember Marriott will present the proclamation for National Public Works Week.
It's my great honor to present a proclamation for National Public Works Week. Do I have someone from Public Works here Jacqueline Rhodes, come on down. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Arvada. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Arvada to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Arvada, Colorado, that the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 be designated as National Public Works Week. We urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and Canadian Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. And it's dated the 20th of May, 2024, signed by the mayor and all members of council, and I'll bring it down to you.
Well, can I invite the team up for a photo? And can I, oh, thank you. Well, it's with extreme gratitude that we accept this proclamation. I just wanted to say that this year's theme that APWA has is advancing quality of life for all, and certainly that's in alignment with City Council's strategic plan that we're talking about tonight, and certainly something that the services that we provide each day. So on behalf of the nearly 140 full-time employees within Public Works, and as you see, the public work professionals across the infrastructure work system and from our supporting departments, I wanted to say thank you to the council for the continued direction and support you provide our teams so that we can continue to provide services across our transportation network of over 1,440 lane miles of streets, nearly 1,000 miles of curb, gutter, and sidewalk, and over 100 city facilities. I'll let Sharon share some of the statistics of our utilities system because we're going to be talking about Drinking Water Week next, but I just want to say thank you for the support.
All right, next up we have Councilmember Davis will present the proclamation for Drinking Water Week.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. Yeah. So I'm really excited about this because you all know that I'm an infrastructure wonk. And so whereas our water's most valuable resource, drinking water serves as a vital role in daily life, serving an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life of our citizens to enjoy. And whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, and support for our economy and the quality of our life we enjoy, and whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of the drinking water, or a member of a pipe crew maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumers' tap. And whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shone a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend, and whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Arvada, Colorado, that the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2024, be designated as Drinking Water Week. And this is dated the 6th of May, 2024, signed by Mayor and Council. Is there someone here to accept the proclamation?
Thank you.
I'm so proud to provide this to
Thank you. It's a whole big group. Come on in.
Group, get
It's the same public as the Public Works group.
Yeah, you all look very familiar. Yeah, but yeah, mix it up a little.
Right.
Yeah, get it in a different order.
Get in.
There you go.
Thank
What?
you. Thanks, Sharon.
Uh-huh. You're welcome, Sharon.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. We really appreciate this opportunity to get recognized for the great work that this team does for supplying drinking water for the city. As you can see, we've got a lot of folks from across our infrastructure work system here tonight to represent us. Drinking Water Week is a unique opportunity for both water professionals and the communities they serve to recognize the vital role water plays in our daily lives. The Arvada Utilities Department provides essential water, wastewater, and stormwater services that maintain a high quality of life for the more than 120,000 residents and visitors who rely on us. During Drinking Water Week, we highlight these services that start with protecting our source water, treating, testing, monitoring, and storing that water until it reaches your tap, and ensuring it's safely disposed of after use. Arvada's drinking water system includes 2 water treatment plants, 11 water storage tanks, and 7 pump stations. We manage over 630 miles of distribution pipes. We serve over 40,000 households, over 40 square miles. Each year, we treat 6.4 billion gallons of safe drinking water for the community. And we're proud to provide high-quality, reliable drinking water for less than a penny a gallon. Thank you, Council, for recognizing the week of May 6, 2024 as Drinking Water Week.
Thank you. And yes, Arvada has the best water. Yeah. All right, next up, Councilmember Marriott, present the proclamation for Building Safety Month.
So this month of May is recognized as Building Safety Month. Whoever's here for that proclamation, come on down. Whereas our city is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depend on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Mission Possible is the theme for Building Safety Month 2024, encourage us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Arvada, Colorado, that the month of May 2024 is designated Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. And I will bring this down. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, thank you. All right. So yeah, on behalf of the Building Inspection Division, I want to thank the council members for the acknowledgement of the vital role building safety plays in our community. I know our members of the Building Inspection Division are proud of the role they play in maintaining the highest standards of safety and quality in construction projects across their city. So again, thank you for the ongoing support.
All right, next up, Councilmember Ambrose will present the proclamation for Poppy Month.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. The poppy flower adorned the battlefields of Flanders Field in France during World War I and was looked upon by those serving as a living symbol of their fallen comrades' sacrifices. In 1920, after World War I, the poppy became the official flower of the American Legion family to memorialize the soldiers who fought and died during the war, and the distribution of poppies became a Legion national program in 1924. Thank you. To this day, thanks in large part to the American Legion Auxiliary, the poppy is nationally recognized and worn as a symbol of sacrifice made by the men and women who served and died for their country during a time of war. And passing around poppies now are members of the American Legion Auxiliary Wilmore Richter Unit 161 who are present to accept this proclamation, which I'll now read. And it's a great honor to be able to present this to you all as a veteran myself of the U.S. Army, and I know if Councilmember Foray was here, she would also be honored. So thank you so much for all you do. Whereas the sacrifices of those who have lost their lives, their health, or their livelihood as a result of their military service are rightly the concern of all citizens. And whereas the annual sale of poppies by the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 161 offers an opportunity for the people of this community to express their solicitude for those unfortunate persons who have paid more than their fair share of the cost of freedom. And whereas the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans and desire to honor the dead by helping the living, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council and the City of Arvada, Colorado, that the month of May 2024 be designated Poppy Month in Arvada. We encourage, as City Council, all Arvada residents to participate in Poppy Month and to wear a poppy as mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked or lost their lives in fulfilling their obligations as American citizens. The City Council recognizes the merits of American Legion Auxiliary Unit 161.
Thank you. Is she going to go around and get a picture?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for serving.
We're going to wait for them to...
Do you want to take a picture?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is there a poppy insurance? Where's she's up there. Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll keep going for you.
All right, why don't you come down here so they can get you in a picture, just for a second? Okay. She's the only one that we have for a poppy princess, and she has been for 5 years. Thank you, Darrell.
Thank you
Now
very
can go
much.
back. Okay, thank you. In Flounders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lay in Flounders Field. To take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. We, if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flounders Field. Then a new poem that has been going around that I really like, My Poppy is Red. A poppy to remember those heroes gone before. Red is the blood men and women shed. In foreign land, their life blood given for another as they took their stand. Black for death that comes and takes the breath of the hero away, as they fight for freedom, fight for peace, fight to live another day. And evergreen to symbolize, the memory will stay, the sacrifice will not be forgotten on this Remembrance Day. You wear a poppy to remember those heroes who fought and died. Red, black, and green together, wear your poppy with pride. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, seeing her grow up over the years, definitely. She's getting taller and taller.
Well, she's been doing it, since she was 5?
Yeah,
So, yeah, and now she's 10.
Yeah. growing on up. All right, next up, Councilmember Ambrose will present the proclamation for Mental Health Month.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. It's my deep honor to be able to present this to representatives from the Jefferson Center tonight, as my children have medical disorders that affect their mental health, and my daughter would not be here today were it not for the Jefferson Center. So thank you so much from the bottom of the heart for all the work you do. The proclamation reads, whereas good mental health is essential to the overall health and emotional well-being of all children, youth, adults, and families, and promotes a healthy community, and nearly 1 in 4 people in our communities experience a mental health condition each year. And whereas more than 17% of individuals in our communities experience substance use disorder each year, including alcohol and drug use, and the lack of awareness of where to seek support and stigma against mental health conditions and substance use disorders prevent many people from accessing care. And whereas mental health problems and substance use disorders are detected early and treated, people can recover and maintain a healthy and independent life, and increased focus on the prevention of mental health conditions and substance use disorders among children, adolescents, and adults through screening and early intervention helps reduce suffering and improve lives. And whereas it is imperative that all members of our community, irrespective of age, gender expression, sexual identification, race, culture, ethnic background, education, or economic status, have equitable access to essential care, support, and services for mental health and substance use conditions. And whereas the City of Arvada is dedicated to improving the health and well-being of its citizens and employees by increasing awareness, ending stigma, and focusing on the integral role of mental health in all our lives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Arvada, Colorado, that the month of May 2024 be designated as Mental Health Month, and call upon all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our communities and resources to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, providing appropriate and accessible services for all citizens, and making mental health a priority.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. Hello, my name is Amy Miller, and I'm the Director of Adult Outpatient Services at Jefferson Center. On behalf of everyone at Jefferson Center, from our dedicated board and staff to the wonderful people we have the privilege to serve, I want to thank you for declaring May as Mental Health Month in the city of Arvada. Mental Health Month has been a cornerstone of advocacy since it began in 1949, serving as an important way for us to start conversations about mental health, break down stigma, raise awareness, and provide critical resources for mental health care in our community. As a nonprofit community mental health center, Jefferson Center is deeply committed to providing comprehensive mental health care, substance use treatment, and a wide range of resources to support the well-being of our community every single day. Each year, we touch the lives of more than 27,000 people, thanks to the power of partnerships with over 150 community organizations like the City of Arvada. Through these collaborations, we strive to make mental health care more accessible by meeting people where they are. Jefferson Center is grateful for the City of Arvada's financial support, which helped to support the provision of mental health and substance use treatment services to over 3,500 Arvada residents last fiscal year. This includes hundreds of clients who are uninsured and qualified for a reduced rate based on their income. The financial support provided by the City of Arvada helped Jefferson Center provide individual and group therapy, as well as connections to resources to support whole person well-being to clients who would otherwise not be able to access or afford it. We are also grateful for the City of Arvada's support of Mental Health First Aid, which is a full-day training that provides attendees with skills, resources, and knowledge on how to support an individual experiencing a mental health crisis and help them connect with appropriate care. The Arvada Business Summit was held on November 8th at the Arvada Center, and 90 people attended and were trained in mental health first aid, including, I believe, Mayor Simpson. Maintaining good mental health is fundamental to overall well-being, and it's something that affects us all. Mental health conditions are common and treatable. In fact, 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health condition in any given year, and challenges in life can impact anyone's mental health. Despite the prevalence of these challenges, many people will not seek help due to stigma or lack of awareness about available resources. This is where your support of Mental Health Month becomes truly invaluable. By raising awareness and combating stigma, we can create a community where seeking mental health support is met with empathy and understanding. As stigma fades, more people will feel empowered to seek the care they need, reducing suffering and strengthening our community's well-being. Arvada's support is absolutely vital, and we deeply appreciate your recognition of Mental Health Month and your ongoing partnership with Jefferson Center. None of the important work we do would be possible without your support. Thank you once again for your commitment to mental health awareness and for standing alongside us in creating a healthier, more resilient community. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's all the proclamations. A lot for, had a dry spell for a minute there. Next up, we're going to do presentations. Our next presentation is with the Old Town Arvada Business Improvement District. Joe Hinksler, the Executive Director of the Old Town BID. Joe, it's good to see you, sir.
Good to see everyone. Thank you for having me. So, typically this time of year, you guys normally receive our annual report. Due to some extenuating circumstances, obviously you guys have not gotten this, but discussing it with city leadership, we thought this would be an excellent opportunity to do a brief overview of a little bit of the work for the BID, not only for longtime sitting council members, but new council members as well. Give you guys a year in review and kind of tell you where we're going for the future. And super stoked, we have a full house tonight, so everybody gets to learn a little something, hopefully. So with that in mind, next slide. So I always love to start this by kind of going over our mission and how long we've been here. So the BID was established in 2014 with a mission to preserve, promote, and enhance the vibrancy of Old Town. Our vision is that we strive to create and maintain an identifiable and always active business district that is inclusive to all, allowing for our diverse businesses to prosper and setting the stage for a truly authentic experience. And of course, I want to take this time to acknowledge the bid board. The bid board consists of business and property owners of Old Town. We have 11 dedicated individuals who volunteer their time, fully representing the geographic diversity of Old Town, but also a wide range of businesses, whether that's bars and restaurants, traditional retail, as you might imagine, service providers, and also just straight up property owners. Without going through and naming everybody in their businesses, I did want to recognize our president, Scott Spears, for being here, as well as Michael Griffith. So, next slide. So kind of a brief little overview of some of the things that were accomplished in last year. We saw 2 million visitors to Old Town last year, which is just amazing. The businesses themselves generated $1.78 million in city sales tax revenue, and the bid itself, along with our partner organizations, brought 90 days of events or different activations to Old Town, and that's including our 15 signature events, which include things like our Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day, Second Saturdays, Trick or Treat Street, the Old Town tree lighting, Saturdays with Santa, but also so many of those other things that our partner organizations do that we help to set the stage for, whether that's the Jackalope Arts Festival, the Farmers Market, the Apex concerts in the park, because Old Town is a great place to be and a great place to host events. And those events matter. So kind of jumping into a few of the other highlights, and Linda told me I had 10 minutes, so this was initially a lot longer of some of the things we've accomplished. I pared it down a little bit here for us all today, but we're super proud of our marketing efforts that we deployed again in 2023. We went ahead and we did 2 successful campaigns, which really highlighted our Like a Local brand that we've constructed over the last couple of years. One was a summer campaign highlighting events and kind of the businesses of Old Town. The other being our holiday campaign, really encouraging people to come and shop and spend the holidays in Old Town. Additionally, due to those efforts, we saw our website traffic grow by 95%. Our Facebook visits grew by 211%, and our Instagram followers grew by 74%. Additionally, those efforts helped to generate 141 stories for Old Town. That was due in part to our efforts in having stories to tell, but also we want to recognize the efforts of Daniel Daskalis, PR, and our partner organizations that helped generate those stories, including the Arvada Visitors Center, of course. We distributed a weekly e-newsletter encouraging people to come to Old Town and letting them know what was happening, not only highlighting our events, but highlighting specials and things that our businesses were doing. That weekly e-newsletter goes out to 4,500 individuals. And of course, we distributed 4,000 Old Town shopping and dining guides, which are our little physical maps that people get to have and hold. Those are distributed through the businesses, but one of the main distributors of those is the Hilton Garden Inn, and now this year will be our Marriott as well. So not only are we hitting visitors when they come in, but we're getting our tourists, which we absolutely love. Next slide. Excuse me. So the scope of the bid is really placed in these different buckets that you're seeing up there. This has been the case since 2014 when we were established. The bid's operating plans and how we approach year after year, they were really laid out in 2014 when the founders of the bid let the property owners know kind of what the work of the bid would be. And the work of the bid was never meant to supplant city services, but really, really enhance them. And that's kind of how these different buckets came about. So you see our efforts really going to marketing and events, which we've just kind of touched on that last slide, which is a major part of what we do. Additionally, we do enhanced placemaking. That's everything from the kind of the furniture that you see in the street that we help to maintain, to the street murals, to the murals that you see go on the businesses, because the bid does run a mural grant program that we do in partnership with the Arvada Arts and Culture Commission. Last year we saw 1 mural installed. This year we're working on 3 murals. So a big jump this year. We're super excited about that. I know not too long ago, council recognized Bobby McGee for his work with the Old Town Shindig, and we are working right now to get that mural installed on the Nutrition Therapy Institute. So we're super excited for what's to come as far as that goes. But really, when you think about that placemaking, it's really those extra things that we can add that really help define the place and give it some character. Not that Old Town needs more character. There's already quite a bit down there, of course. We work to promote safety in the district. We're super, super thankful for our relationship that we have with Arvada Fire and especially the Arvada Police Department. We meet monthly with the district commander to keep him updated on what we're seeing, but also to learn what they're seeing and how we can respond, how we can communicate to our businesses and let them know best practices, how to really encourage safety for their employees and the visitors to Old Town. We do enhanced maintenance in Old Town. When the bid first started, that looked like pressure washing 2 times a year. Enhanced maintenance has grown over the years because of needs. So not only do we still pressure wash 2 times a year, we also go ahead and hit the high traffic areas during the summer monthly. Additionally, the bid does administer the contracts for the leaf removal and all the snow removal within the street closure. And of course, we employ staff to do street sweeping and maintain the tables and just try to do our best to keep the district looking fresh and clean. Lastly on that goes advocacy, and of course, City Manager Gillis, as well as Linda, would tell you that we're not shy about advocating for our businesses. Last year, we went ahead and we took an additional step, and we partnered with other downtowns throughout Colorado to advocate for legislation that was going to help our businesses. That ended up taking the form of House Bill 1023, which established the ability for traditional retailers to go ahead and pull liquor permits. So when they're having special events, whether that be a shop and sip or an anniversary party, they can now go ahead and serve a glass of wine or a cocktail to help people linger longer and maybe help promote sales. We are super proud of those efforts, and that resulted in Governor Polis coming to Old Town and doing his bill signing here in Arvada. So we are super proud of those efforts as well. And that's just kind of a little brief overview of how we work within those buckets. I'll go ahead and take the next slide. Super fun. I won't make everybody look at all of these numbers and how this pie chart is broken up, but what we're really looking at here is some of our funding and expenditures. I will, of course, need to highlight some of this. You see that big number up top is our events and activations. That generated roughly $242,000 in events. Going down to expenditures, you can see that we spent $217,000 in events. That means events are a moneymaker for the bid, which is also critical. So not only are events a great way to draw people to the district, introduce new people to it, but it also means something for the bid's bottom line and also our business's bottom line. I know a number of businesses have record-breaking days when we have events, and that happened this year on St. Patrick's Day. We have grown our sponsorships and our partnerships over the year, and last year that was $35,000 roughly. The mill levy has increased to $131,000 as we've seen the property values increase in Old Town. And the other large chunk of our revenue really comes from a city contribution. That's $68,000 that the city contributes that we're grateful for. That $68,000 was where that number came from, was initially a match that matched the mill levy when the bid was formed 10 years ago. And so that's where that $68,000 comes from. Obviously, the mill levy has grown over time, though. As we look at where we spend our money, well, that largely mirrors where our operating plans are. It's events, it's marketing, it's advocacy. You see about a third of the budget goes towards payroll for staff, so that includes my salary, of course, as well as our Director of Marketing and Events, who does a fantastic job, Stephanie Paul, but also our seasonal staff and our maintenance staff that we hire to do things like run the skating rink and maintain the district. And then, of course, you see that events and marketing piece is a huge, huge piece, but obviously a revenue generator, as I already mentioned. I would also like to mention here, too, that there is an error on this slide, so I apologize. If we look at that total under expenditures, it's not even a real number. It's not even complete. That number, actually, if we did the math on it, is $508,000. That means that the bid spent more than we brought in last year. We do have some revenue, we do have a reserve fund, and so that's where we made up the difference of that. But this would be the second year in a row that the bid has spent more than it has brought in revenue. Next slide. So what is the bid up against now, and what's Old Town looking at, and everybody else who's involved in Old Town, which includes the city? Well, just touched on it a little bit. We do have some funding issues here. We're spending more than what we're bringing in right now, which I don't anticipate will happen in 2024, but it has happened, and we do run on a tight budget. We spend everything that we bring in to try to make Old Town as great as it can be. We're dealing with day-to-day maintenance issues, because what we're seeing in Old Town right now, and this all kind of is all stacked together here, is that we have aging infrastructure. We have people coming to Old Town. The street closure has caused some additional maintenance needs, and so dealing with the day-to-day maintenance of Old Town has presented a number of challenges. Keeping the streets looking clean, making sure we're on top of garbage, on top of litter is an issue. Making sure that, that flowers are planted, that's another thing, and I could go on, but as we look at our aging infrastructure, well, that is everything from pavers deteriorating downtown to lampposts and chipping paint, and trees being removed from the big planter boxes, so we're losing some of our street shade. And there's a number of other issues that we look forward to discussing with city staff in the future as well. And then, of course, we deal with issues of our unhoused population. And this is not meant to paint with a broad brush, but we know that there's a subsection in Old Town that presents a number of problems for our businesses and for guests down there. This includes everything from our businesses having to deal with cleaning up drug paraphernalia in the morning, or human defecation, just to be honest, to open drug use in the square, and issues of safety and bullwhips. And additionally, there are other kind of issues of garbage that gets produced that needs to be cleaned up, that I think city staff and the bid staff are trying to address. So without spending too much time on some of those current challenges, we'll go to the next slide to talk about the future and some of the things we're super, super excited about. Number one, finally getting those dang established common consumption areas going. As you guys are well aware, you passed an ordinance declaring Old Town an entertainment district. Well, we are finally prepared to take the next step, get the businesses together, have them form promotional associations, and really get that common consumption area going. By the end of Q3, we will hopefully have this meeting of the business owners to see who's all interested. And trust me, there's a lot of interest on the business owners' part in establishing this. Additionally, we're working on documentation now to share with the city clerk's office to make sure that everybody's on the same page here, kind of regarding how we manage this and how we do it the best that we possibly can, so that we get the good effects and not the bad effects of having common consumption in Old Town. Additionally, the bid is willing and ready to do anything that we need to implement that Old Town Strategic Reinvestment Plan. I think that would go far in addressing some of our infrastructure issues, of course, and also taking Old Town into that next phase. Of course, the street closures that are in place now were always meant to be temporary, and what the Old Town Reinvestment Plan does is make those permanent, and honestly, makes them awesome if you haven't looked at the plan. I encourage the public to do so. Of course, the bid has always been looking for ways to increase our funding and to continue to grow our operations. We believe that forming a downtown development authority gives the bid more latitude to explore those funding operations by accessing TIF funding, and really lets us grow what we can do as an organization for impact. And of course, the bid is due to sunset in 10 years due to its original ordinance. This is something that is unique to the Old Town Arvada bid. It does not go across all bids, but we are working right now to renew the bid by surveying our property owners, seeing how they feel about it, and presenting those results to council, because ultimately we are at the discretion of you to serve. And so with that in mind, I can invite, of course, our President Scott up here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Mayor? Yes, Mr. Marriott.
I don't have a question. I have a comment, and so I just want to make a couple comments. I've been the liaison with the bid for a little while now, and have attended all their board meetings, and as well as some of the work that the bid does, and I'm just continually amazed by how much the bid accomplishes with so little. the refinement, the growth, and the perfecting their approach that the bid has done year after year after year. I've helped at the last couple of festivals, checking in vendors, and the bid has a setup such that even someone like me who's never done it before can step right up and be useful and help these festivals go off. And I'm always struck by, how lucky we are, and I think it's Joe's leadership as well as the board's leadership at the bid to have done that. But it's a good business deal for the city too. You saw that the Old Town collects $1.7+ million worth of sales tax every year. And that would not happen without the bid. That number would be much, much smaller. And so just as a straight business case, the bid is performing admirably. I think the bid faces some challenges, and I think it's important for us to realize the limitations of the bid's ability to deal with their challenges, and for us to take up the case to help with some of those challenges. I think Joe was trying to be very nice and very politically correct when he talks about the unhoused population in Old Town, but that's a significant problem. I mean, I walk through Old Town at least 4 or 5 days a week, and it is a significant problem. And I think the city really needs to use its resources and its abilities to assist the bid with a problem that the bid has absolutely no ability or standing to deal with. And I think the city does have more that it can do there, and I would encourage us to do that. The other is the financial position of the bid. And I've never seen an organization deliver so much with so little. And I remember, I was on council when the bid was first put into place, and the funding mechanism from the bid was about half from the property owners and half from the city. And it was kind of a recognition of very much of the area that the bid would touch is public. It's the town square, it's the sidewalks, it's lots of public areas. And of course, now that the streets are closed, it's those. And the idea was that the city would make a contribution in recognition of that. Well, over time, over 10 years, the contribution by the property owners via their property tax has doubled over time, essentially. But the city's still contributing the same amount. And I think it's important, and I would encourage our city team to take a real close look at this as we start going through our budget process this year, of how we can put that funding back into the proper ratio or proper place like it was 10 years ago when the bid first started. I think it's a great investment. You see those sales tax returns. I guarantee you with more resources, the bid can do more and we will benefit from it financially. That's number one. Number two, I think it's would be incumbent on us to put in place some kind of a ratio or a plan for the city's side of the bid funding that's an ongoing thing. And it could be tied to a number of things. It could be tied to the property tax increment, or it could be tied to some sales tax increment or some sales tax performance or something. But I would encourage us to not just take a step to where we should be and then let it sit there and essentially decline by the rate of inflation at least over 10 years and then take another step. I would much prefer to see annually that the bid's financial situation is addressed through some mechanism. So as we go forward in our budget process, I'm hoping that we can take some of those questions on. Those are hard questions. There's never enough money. I know we've got lots of responsibilities and budget things are hard. But we have to keep in mind this is an investment. We get a return on this investment, and they have proven beyond a doubt of what a great value the bid is for Arvada. So that's it. No question. Sorry, just a protracted comment, but I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I appreciate what you will continue to do in the future.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ambrose.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. I echo Councilmember Marriott's statements and would appreciate if the city were to figure out a way to match the mill levy these days as to what it originally was as $68,000. and bring it up to what the mill levy and match what the business owners are contributing through the mill levy of $131,000. And also that the return on investment, it looks like, somebody check my math, but for every dollar that we put into the bid, we get $2 back. Is that right? Because if you all have about $500,000 and we get $1.5 million back in sales taxes. So like I echo with Councilmember Marriott, that it is a good investment. I do have a question about the overages for the last 2 years. Would you say that the overages are basically tied to everything that you explained in slide 6 about current challenges in terms of like expanding operations, the maintenance, and the aging infrastructure?
I would attribute the overage of the past 2 years to the addition of the skating rink in Old Town.
Okay.
Largely, that was a large expense that the bid took on, knowing that for the first couple of years, it was going to be one that lost money, and now that those investments have been made, that essentially it will either be a break even and a great kind of addition for the holiday season for the community, or, you know, if all things go accordingly, perhaps even make us a little bit of money.
Okay, great. I have no other questions, and tons of praise for you all as well. I think you all doing a fantastic job, and it's one of the most, attractive things for people who live here and people who don't to come and enjoy downtown Arvada. It's a real benefit and amenity for our residents, so thank you for all the work you do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, before I go to you, I'll make a question and comment, then I'll hand it to you. The question I have for you is on, and I'm not familiar with this, and maybe you can educate me, is on the Downtown Development Authority. Is that in addition to the bid, or is that a replacement of the bid, or how does that?
That could be either which way. I've seen both models pursued. Is typically a bid will take a back seat to a DDA. They're a little bit different in their scope of work on what they're allowed to do. So it's not uncommon for a DDA to have a bid underneath it, because bids are really good at doing things like events, right? And some of the maintenance things. It's kind of a mixed bag if you talk to the lawyers, whether a DDA can handle some of the just general maintenance work as well. So what you typically see is a bid with a mill levy at 5. Our mill levy is at 8.5, but from the research I've done, the bid's at 5, and then the DDA over the top of it to do some of those larger investments.
So does the DDA, I remember us talking about it, I guess it was maybe a long time ago. I remember when this all came up. I think it came up at one point. But on the DDA, does it, you said it also has the ability to do a TIF, if I caught that right?
Yeah, the DDA could go ahead and do TIF financing.
Okay, and then, I'm sure there's more. I'm interested in this, more discussion. When you get closer to formalizing that, I'm sure we'll be interested in that conversation.
Absolutely, and I guarantee you that we are going to bring in experts who know way more than I do.
Yeah, and I just want to reflect when Scott and I first met, going way, way, way back in 2007-ish, when I had the toy store in Old Town. There was really only 3 active businesses back then. It was Scott, who moved in with Scrumptious. It was my Downtown Toys and Games, and it was Mike Solis with the German Auto that were really active. And if you reflect on HODA back then, the Historical Old Town Arvada, and I was the chair of that for a year, but going through that process of making Old Town vibrant, it was not vibrant when, I'm thinking when Scott showed up, I think he was getting more business off 12 volt than probably anyone else at the time. But it was not vibrant, and looking to where it is today, it kind of ebb and flow, but we're on you've really illustrated to me the stability of the organization and of Old Town, because whenever I travel anywhere in the state, having a state job, when you say you're from Arvada, they all say, we love your Old Town. We love your Old Town. So, it's funny how small that universe is in the corner that represents 40 square miles of a city. How a great job you've done. I've also been impressed with the continuous improvement of just exploring or expanding your services to the community. I was always fearful that HODA was starting to fail its obligations prior to the bid, and now that the bid has proven that not only can you pick it up, you're doing the right thing to continue to make it a vibrant community and a welcoming community for all that visit Arvada. So, awesome job. I too would echo what my peers would have said about funding. We need to probably think about that. I'd like to know more about the DDA. I also like to know what we may do as a contribution as well to kind of catch up with the times. And maybe our contribution is just getting the roads closed and getting them properly designed and redeveloped like you wanted. I don't know. But in a more expeditious manner than a 10-year plan. Sorry, Lori, she's grabbing her head. She's probably worried. Oh, okay. But I'm sure it's in our 10-year plan or further out, but somewhere in there, the team will figure out what would look good. But I do agree that the value that you provided and the services you provided the community have highlighted throughout the state how important the bid is and Old Town is to everyone that visits us and who lives here. So I just want to thank you, Joe. It's good to see you. I'm very happy you're here tonight, and look forward to the continued success of Old Town. So,
Thank you. It's good to be here.
all right, and then I'll hand it over to the mayor. And she's frozen. Sorry. I'm sorry. Councilmember Davis, I didn't see you over there. Thank you.
That's because I didn't know your name.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. Joe, it's so great to see you. And while I was campaigning, you were such a great mentor, sharing with me what the bid does and taking me around to the businesses to introduce me. So thank you for that. I've lived in Arvada for 20 years now, believe it or not. And the past 10 years, finally getting to go down into Old Town and enjoy it and actually bring friends and family down there is amazing. Of all the places that I visited and have to go to, it's memorable for people. They really enjoy it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Michael. I mean, it's a gem. And I'm very excited and very proud to be in Arvada and on City Council due to the Old Town experience.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Davis.
Pfeiffer, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Until the mayor comes
Yeah,
on.
that's perfect. I need some time to be taken.
First off, just the itch on the head, not you. Second, I just wanted to remind you that we do have an outstanding RFP to enhance services in Old Town, a variety of service and support. So when we get that information back, that may assist with some of the challenges that were listed on your slide. And then also, it is something that we were planning to do, but bring forth some options in the budget process as far as how we could supplement Old Town.
Okay, I'm slow rolling it to see if the mayor pops back in. She said just keep on going. So, she would just talk the world for you guys. She's a big cheerleader for all of you. Oh, she
Well,
just popped
we are
back in.
so appreciative of council support and the support that we receive from city staff and then, of course, our businesses in Old Town as well. It all needs to work together, as you know.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Mayor Simpson, are you back?
I am back. I don't know what happened there, but thank you. I'm excited to be back. Mr. Hengsler, it is indeed extremely good to see you. I'm so glad you're with us this evening. So I just had a few questions. I wanted to follow up on some of the questions that my colleagues had posted out there. First, about the ice skating rink, you're absolutely right. I understand loss leader to build that ongoing traction. Did we see year-over-year gain from 22 to 23 holiday season?
We saw a little less traffic in 23 than we did in 22. We're re-exploring how we can increase that traffic in 24 and re-envisioning kind of what that holiday square feeling can be to make it more vibrant throughout the week.
Great, thank you very much. And then in terms of a DDA, and I apologize if Councilmember Pfeiffer asked this question, my internet was glitching for a second, so I missed about 1 minute of the meeting there. So a DDA, would that be contained to the existing Old Town area, or would it be looking to incorporate New Town as well and the perhaps larger businesses that exist there?
That is definitely an option to expand the current boundaries of what the bid is for a DDA if we decided that, and I mean the collective we decided that makes sense.
Okay. Like my colleagues, I'll look forward to seeing that process as it unfolds and what the options may be. And thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is a public comment for items not scheduled on the agenda for a public hearing, which is limited to 3 minutes per person. Public comment is your opportunity to address your city council. We also listen carefully to what you have to say, but we do not respond to comments during the meeting. We will refer any issues raised during public comment to the city team for further research and resolution if appropriate. I have a few people signed up here. I have Darlong Chang. You're up.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm Darlon Chang, an Arvada resident in the Geos neighborhood, and I'm here to comment on how community-scale microgrids could benefit the economic vitality of our city. Microgrids allow communities to store energy generated from the sun and either use the stored energy instead of buying it from the utility or sell the energy back to the utility when demand for electricity is high. I have a Tesla Powerwall at my home that stores the electricity generated during the day from my rooftop solar photovoltaic panels and powers my home during the night. I plan to have a bidirectional EV charger that would allow the batteries in my electric vehicle to store energy and power my home like a Powerwall. A microgrid for my neighborhood would take this energy storage for my home and network it with my neighbors so that we could make use of all of my neighbors' rooftop solar PV panels. There is a depot for school buses near my neighborhood, and a microgrid could store energy in electric school buses, as well as generate electricity from solar panels that could cover much of the parking area in the depot. Moreover, there are businesses next to my neighborhood that could use stored energy in the microgrid to reduce their electricity costs during peak demand hours, as well as provide backup power during outages. So far, I've only talked about a microgrid sharing stored electricity. There are 14 homes in my neighborhood with geothermal boreholes that use the thermal energy stored in the ground that is heated by the sun. There are more than 100 homes yet to be built that could have a networked geothermal system that could act as a microgrid for thermal energy that provides year-round heating, cooling, and hot water. The hot water and waste heat from nearby businesses could be shared in this thermal microgrid to further reduce energy costs. I'd like to thank Mayor Simpson for introducing me to Dave Potterson at Excel, who has invited the City of Arvada to submit applications by September for communities to be considered for Excel's pilot program for a networked geothermal system. Excel would pay for the geothermal boreholes to be drilled and the infrastructure needed for the system. The state legislature passed HB 24-1370 this session, which enables the Colorado Energy Office to start 5 more community thermal microgrid programs like Excel's network geothermal pilot. By identifying microgrid opportunities and applying on behalf of communities, Arvada could attract millions of dollars of investments from utilities, state and federal programs, and businesses looking to be at the forefront of making clean energy affordable and widely available. I'm the president of one of those businesses, and it's called GeoSolar Technologies. The company is looking to leverage the economies of scale that reduce geothermal drilling costs from $30,000 per home to less than $10,000 in the Geos neighborhood. With a community microgrid project, the company could consider building a training facility in Arvada for geothermal drilling and microgrid infrastructure. This city council could enable a clean energy business boom in Arvada by facilitating community microgrids while lowering energy costs and increasing resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Next up, Erica Tucker.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We briefly met last meeting, and I hope to develop an ongoing conversation with this board, and in particular with my own local community, and provide ongoing education where it is clearly needed. A bit of background: I have multiple undergraduate degrees in molecular biology, allied health, and in addition, I have a graduate degree and master in divinity and religious studies. I am a former interfaith hospice chaplain. I also interact daily with people from all around the world, including families on the ground in Gaza as well as in Israel. I would like you to imagine 3 full school buses of children, normal big school buses, full with children in seats. That's the amount of children that die due to Israeli government regime every single day, funded by our tax dollars. There's been an estimated 14,500 children that have been killed since this conflict, according to the UN. That's in Gaza alone. That's not including the estimated 460 children that are detained by the Israeli government in prisons without charges, according to the Defense for Children International. 14,500 children is also not taking into account the more than 8,000 missing children under the rubble in the UN. according to the UN. I want to be clear that you don't need a graduate degree in religion to understand that this is not religious. It is imperialism. It has sadly happened before. There's no safe zone, and we are all complicit. No one in this room will be able to say that we did not know. Genocide only happens because we allow it to happen. I was taught, along with all of you, never again. I assumed that meant for everyone, not just for our Jewish brothers and sisters. Never again means for everyone. I have watched with my own eyes, and I have heard with my own ears. I have listened to many stories from many diverse people, but my eyes cannot unsee, my ears cannot unhear. Right now, the Palestinians are being intentionally and systematically starved and bombed in Rafah, and it is being live streamed with our tax money. Entire generations being erased before our eyes. I beg you to care about the Palestinians. I want to be clear. Advocating for the human rights of Palestinians does not mean that you are pro-Hamas. Advocating for the human rights of Palestinians does not mean you are pro-ending Jewish lives. Advocating for the human rights of Palestinians does not mean that you are anti-Semitic. Being against the Israeli government regime, against Palestinians and their imposed apartheid against the Palestinians does not mean that you are anti-Semitic. Empathizing with the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians does not mean that you do not empathize with the murders and violence against our Jewish brothers and sisters. Who deserves protection if not for a population of mostly children being bombed with our tax dollars? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Next up, Gordon Rusink.
Councilmember Pfeiffer and members of City Council, my name is Gordon Rusink. I reside at 6553 Welch Street. And I realized this weekend two things. First, I've lived in Arvada for 55 years. And the second thing is I've never spoken under public comment period, and I'm kind of nervous to. For 40 of those years, I worked for the city. The last few years as the director of Vibrant Community and Neighborhoods. And at that time, housing and homelessness programs were managed by that department. In retirement, I've spent time volunteering at Mission Arvada, and I wanted to explain why. Mostly I wanted to explain the three things I've learned as a volunteer there. So on most Fridays, you'll find me there working the front desk, meeting people who are experiencing homelessness and registering them into the system. I get to work with some amazing volunteers, two of whom are here tonight with me. And the three things that I wanted to share with you that I've learned in my experience is that words really matter and that precision in language really matters. Arvada does have homeless that live here. Not every person who is homeless is a client of the Rising. So even dealing with just homelessness in Old Town does not mean that the city would eliminate or address its housing for homeless. The second thing is that homelessness really is a regional issue. Arvada is the fourth largest city in the metro area. Just like so many other things that Arvada experiences, from traffic to the provision of parks and transportation, it's a regional issue that really needs a regional solution. And then thirdly, partnerships matter. The partnership that the city has through the police department's core team, through the housing and homelessness programs, as well as the One Small Step program, matter greatly, as do the partnerships with the city's faith community. The city's faith community is an amazingly robust group of people that provide so many volunteers at the Rising, including the former city manager of Westminster. All of that leads me to encourage you. Tonight you have a resolution approving your new strategic plan. One of those strategic plan elements is adopting a new homelessness plan. It's the first one the city's ever had. I very much encourage you to follow the city's vision and dream big when you set the mission for what this plan is set to accomplish. I say that because it needs to address the regionalness of homelessness, because that's a fact. And we have to build off the strengths that we have, but address this issue citywide. 2 million people visit Old Town a year. the people that I've experienced come to Old Town for many of the same reasons we all do. So a plan addressing homelessness needs to be both regional, thoughtful, and visionary for it to be successful. Thank you very much for your service and for being able to be here tonight.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you for all your support over the years of the city. Vanessa Kendrick.
Good evening, Council. You all know me as the Chairwoman of the Arvada Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Arvada Chamber of Commerce, I'm here today with members of our Board of Directors and our Housing CAPS Council to express our strong support for the Arvada Housing Strategic Plan that you will hear later in your agenda. The Arvada Housing Strategic Plan is in direct alignment with our bold 2026 goal of increasing access to income-aligned housing so that our region's workforce can attain housing near their jobs. Currently, 42% of Arvada's workforce commutes 30 minutes or more on their way to their place of employment. The average rental price for an Arvada apartment is $1,831, and the median home price in Arvada is $634,000, meaning that a household would need an income of over $199,000 to purchase a home in Arvada, as indicated in the report. The current average household income in Arvada is currently $116,000. Crucially, the median individual yearly income earned by Arvada's workforce is $51,000. And with most of the workforce earning between $37,000 and $65,000 annually, this discrepancy makes it very clear that our workforce cannot easily afford to live in the city they serve. In 2023, the Arvada Chamber hosted a series of developer interviews which recognized several challenges related to the time associated with the development process and the fees that make Arvada less competitive than surrounding communities. This plan directly responds to and supports improvements in these areas. We are confident that if these recommendations are adopted, Arvada will increase our competitive advantage in the region, and we'll see an increase in attainable housing stock and growth in our local economy. In addition to the recommendations in the plan, we would ask that the following items also be considered as part of the strategy. Agreed upon language and definitions around the term affordable. We recognize according to this plan that definition is being evaluated. We have a unique opportunity to ensure aligned language across organizations who are working in this space. We would like to see a public-facing dashboard developed that tracks current projects, where they are in the process, and the time it took for each step of the process. We believe that this will allow us all to celebrate successes and increase transparency on the work happening in our community. The Arvada Chamber recognizes the integral role that housing plays in economic development. We appreciate our partnership with the City of Arvada and your role in increasing access to housing through strategies outlined in the Housing Strategic Plan. The Arvada Chamber is here to support the efforts and engage businesses as key partners and advocates for these strategies. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next up, we have Christine Disney.
Good evening. I am here representing the Jefferson County Advocacy Network. We are a new nonpartisan coalition of engaged citizens and influential leaders who are advocating for impactful solutions for immediate solutions for housing. I moved to Colorado in 1994, and like a lot of people who first move here, I didn't have a place to live, so I lived with relatives. And I remember distinctly walking in the evenings and smelling food wafting from people's homes and seeing lights on inside of the homes and really wanting to have a place of my own to live. I was fortunate enough that it was in '94 and I immediately found a place, and my rent was $575 a month, and I was earning about $45,000 a year. Well, now, in Jefferson County, we are behind housing units by 20,000. And the people that are impacted the most by that are between the ages of 18 and 35 years old. To buy a house, as you just heard, in Arvada, you would have to make over $100,000 a year. If you were earning minimum wage, you would have to work 66 hours a week, 52 weeks a year to make enough money to reach about $50,000. The average rent in Jefferson County right now is around $1,800 to $2,000, and $50,000 a year doesn't even allow you to have, you would have a gap of about $1,000 a month. So the people who support your community, the firemen, the policemen, the nurses, the teachers, can't afford to live here. I was in Glenwood Springs a couple of weekends ago, and I was talking with a young woman that was a waitress, and I said, how do you afford to live in Glenwood Springs? The average house there is about $850,000. She said, we can't. Most of the people that work in Glenwood Springs live in Rifle. And if you stand on the street in Glenwood Springs in the morning, you can see people driving south to work. Everybody works, I mean, it's crazy. So I would encourage you to really seriously look towards adopting a strategic housing plan for Arvada, because if you don't, you won't have people being able to afford to work in your community, won't be able to live here. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your service.
Thank you. Next up, we have Eric Myers. Okay. All right, and Marshall Moore?
Hi, my name is Marshall Moore. I'm also here to provide public comment on the topic and the plan for workforce/income alliance/affordable housing. I am also a member of the Jeffco Advocacy Network, this group of Jefferson County residents committed to supporting solutions to our housing crisis. And in my daily life, I run a financial education and coaching program. So every day I see how challenging it is for individuals and families, no matter their circumstances and their goals, to stay below that housing expense ratio of 30%. And accordingly, how that housing expense puts pressures on the rest of our workforce's financial lives, which causes anxiety and stress that affects other aspects of our community, including workforce productivity. There's a new study by a consulting firm, Mercer, that estimates that the financial stress of employees costs the U.S. $250 billion per year in lost time. And that's from the average of 13 work hours per month that employees spend handling personal financial concerns and stress. And housing is the big rock in our financial jars. And secondly, we know now that in ecological systems, more diversity leads to more resiliency and strength within those systems. And I think that the same is true within our human communities. And yet we're now at a point where, due to a combination of complex economic and policy factors that I won't go into, we face major challenges in allowing for the appropriate diversity to support a community in which all types of workers, service workers and executive leaders alike, can all live and work together. In a countywide poll that our network conducted last fall, we found that 70% of young adults say local government should do more to help build housing, and 58% support increased housing density. 3 quick stories. First of all, these are all folks that I have worked with. First of all, there are actually 2 separate 2-teacher households that have moved away in the last year, moved away from Colorado, one to Minnesota, one to North Carolina. Another story is from an architect, also has a partner who works in the tech industry. Both of them feel that they do not want to have kids because they feel it would be financially irresponsible. When talking to them, that comes directly from the fact that they actually have purchased a condo, but the housing costs for it stress the rest of their financial lives enough that that huge decision for them is being made based off of what they're able to afford in the housing world. And lastly, there is a story of a young woman who grew up largely unhoused, was ready to completely give up and not finish high school. She was encouraged by a local teacher to go ahead and finish, and she did. She is now going to School of Mines next year under a full ride, which is inspiring. I'd like to thank the City of Arvada for the work, for your dedication to housing, and I encourage the city to adopt this plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the council chamber that would like to make any public comment? Seeing none, Ms. Rush, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Amy Case is on Zoom.
Amy?
Hi, thank you, council members. My name is Amy Case Miranda. I'm the Deputy CEO at the Jefferson County Housing Authority, which is also known as Foothills Regional Housing. I've been working in affordable housing for 16 years, formerly the president of Housing Colorado, which is the premier statewide affordable housing trade association. And I'm currently the vice president for the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials, Colorado chapter, VP of Statewide Legislative Affairs. So I am also here tonight, as you can imagine, to speak in support of the proposed adoption of the housing strategy. I'm a member of the Housing CAPS Council as well, and have been very pleased to work with our chamber friends and partners, and wanted to convey also our support for their statement that they made in support of the adoption. I want to say quickly, I think there are 3 really good reasons that now is the time to adopt this strategy. First is the commitment that the city made to Proposition 123 and accessing those resources for further development and preservation of affordable housing. As I said, now is the time. You all know that there are 3 years to meet those goals, and we're probably a little over a year in already. Also, the Colorado General Assembly just concluded their session, and over we heard in proposed legislation that housing is a matter of statewide concern. It's statewide concern, it's countywide concern as the Jefferson County Housing Authority, and you know it's a concern to your community. And then also that now is a time of a lot of new resources, including tax credit for the development and preservation of affordable housing. So undertaking these strategies and moving toward achievement of these goals will position Arvada really nicely to be able to access those resources on behalf of their residents. So with that, just support the adoption, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Is there anyone else? All right, thank you, Ms. Rush. All right, that concludes our public comment. We're going to move into the consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda for approval. Resolution 24-048, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $815,100 to Mobile Concept Technology LLC (MTC) for mobile computer equipment for the Arvada Police Department. Resolution 24-050, and a resolution authorizing acceptance of Fleet Zero Emission Resource Opportunity Grant Funds for the state of Colorado to install electric vehicle charging stations. Resolution 24-051, a resolution authorizing an agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Asphalt Specialties Company, Inc., or CO, Inc., for asphalt mill overlay for the City of Arvada parking lots, Phase 1, CSB 24-FAC-035, in the amount not to exceed approximately $662,800. Resolution 24-052, a resolution authorizing acceptance of Charge Ahead Colorado grant funds for the state of Colorado to install electric vehicle charging stations. I feel like I said that before. That's 050. Okay. I was having a deja vu moment there, so that was a little out of order there. Yeah, they are. Okay. So Resolution 24-053, a resolution approving an agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Origins at Old Town Owner Association, Inc. for the grant of a revocable encroachment license to accommodate 2 pedestrian guardrails along a portion of the public sidewalk adjacent to 5350 Carr Street, Unit A, and 5352 Carr Street, Unit A within public right-of-way. Resolution 24-054, a resolution approving an agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Origins at Old Town Owners Association, Inc. for the grant of a revocable encroachment license to accommodate a pedestrian guardrail along the portion of the public sidewalk adjacent to 5430 Carr Street, Unit A within the public right-of-way. And Resolution 24-055, a resolution approving a lease agreement by and between the City of Arvada and Go Farm for agricultural production on approximately 3.5 acres of land at Hills at Stanley Lake Park at 8412 Alcar Street, Arvada, Colorado, 8005. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that all the consent items be approved.
Okay. If I can get everyone to cast their votes. All right. There we go. Mayor, how do you vote?
Yes.
And with everyone present voting in the yea, that's passed with excused absence from Councilmember Frey and Mormon. All right. Next on our agenda is resolutions. First, we will consider Resolution 24-056, a resolution approving the 2024 through 2030 City Council Strategic Plan. I was going to say Councilmember Gillis, but it's City Manager Gillis.
Thank you, members of council. Tonight, we're seeking approval of the City Council Strategic Plan, Resolution 24056. We've incorporated the City Council feedback as directed on April 22nd during the council meeting. This plan was built based on your discussions that began at your February 9th City Council Strategic Planning Retreat. Next slide, please. Next slide. And again, tonight we will seek your approval and we will walk through the strategic plan enhancements based on your feedback. Next slide. The first enhancement was we have incorporated the golden thread. The golden thread symbolizes the strategic alignment connecting our overarching strategy through to individual actions. I won't read this whole slide, but it is the full weaving of your direction to the work that gets done at the city. Next slide. Just to provide some information on the framework of the strategic plan as drafted. It began with a community voice. It began with you taking a look at the community survey. We shared that information and you provide summary of what you felt that you heard and what was stated by our community. It is followed with the City Council strategic results, and that is in the navy above. Your key strategic results relate to homelessness, housing, the local economy, physical and technology systems, and the quality of life. I'll highlight that second box, which is on page 11 in the strategic plan. That's what you were just hearing about from our community. Within the plan, the strategic goals describe what it will look like. So you are setting the vision with the results, where you want to be, and the goals describe what it will look like. And finally, the work system will implement internal implementation plans, will provide internal implementation plans that will demonstrate how we know there will be deliberate and measurable actions that describe how we are moving towards that council vision. Next slide, please. So speaking to one of the next enhancements, it is related to the homelessness strategic goal number 3. We added the wording that you see in red. Research and seek one-time and recurring funding options, including grants and regional agreements in support of homeless services. Next slide. Another enhancement, you can see what it stated previously. And under local economy goal number 2, we added the words continuously reviewing, enhancing city operations to improve the customer experience. Next slide. Also, under local economy, we added a proposed goal, and this is we are seeking council direction here to add this goal under local economy to ensure long-term economic vitality and competitiveness through the implementation of climate mitigation and resiliency strategies. Next slide, please. And then under Quality of Life, Goal 7 added, provide exceptional customer service to all residents, businesses, and visitors to the city. Next slide. You also wanted additional information, and we changed the graphic to demonstrate you will receive reports on an ad hoc, quarterly, and annual basis that will provide information. Those ad hoc reports will include the SMART goals and actions in the internal implementation plans. And this is speaking specifically to Councilmember Ambrose's ask. And at this time, I would ask if you have any questions, or we will support your discussion related to the proposed enhancements.
Councilmember Marriott.
I was just going to give you feedback on what you're looking for on the Goal 8. I would encourage us not to put that in there, and here's why. I think advocates for that type of stuff are trying to play a slick game where they say that there's something to be gained there. In fact, that's at odds oftentimes with the goal of that goal. All of that kind of stuff that gets woven in everywhere only makes things more expensive, and we see that over and over and over again. We're going to talk about housing strategy in a minute. You know, when we adopt stricter climate restrictions and goals, we raise the price of housing. When we impose that on city operations, we make city operations more expensive, which means we cannot meet our responsibilities, or we put ourselves in a very difficult position to operate. I think these days, you know, that kind of stuff is so interwoven into everything we do already that putting it overtly in something like this just puts it in a place where something is required to be done, and whatever is required to be done will be in counter to what we're actually trying to do with the strategic plan. So I'd leave it out. That's my recommendation.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Ambrose.
I just want to make it clear that I disagree with Councilmember Marriott in this regard. We just had a presentation tonight from a local business who talked about microgrids and that being a climate resilient business that could be set up, and that it would be cheaper to be able to set it up than if we were just without city support. So I think that it is integral, and we should have it as part of the local economy plan, that there are businesses that are being created because of the adaptation to the climate crisis that's going on, and that businesses that are left out, if we just leave it to the free market, will be harmed because we don't have a systemic approach to climate mitigation and resiliency for their businesses.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. When I read this, in terms of climate mitigation, I was hearkening back to when we were talking about hot zones in the city, and those are areas that are overpaved and they don't have a lot of shade, so they increase the cast off of heat to the atmosphere. And so maybe we would rethink some of our parking lot strategies in terms of they don't always have to be blacktop and off-gassing of tar. Maybe we can come up with some other strategies there. And then resiliency strategies, what I thought there was to make sure that in a catastrophic, or it doesn't even have to be a catastrophic, it could be just a natural occurrence. I think most of us remember the big windstorm that we just had, and making sure that we had resiliency in our businesses for so that they could stay open during some of these climate occurrences, and also stand up in a way that they're still being a vibrant contributor to our local economy. So that's how I read that. So I would encourage that we do leave that in there because it does give staff some flexibility and rethinking some of the ways that we are doing business here and planning here in Arvada.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and weigh in. I think everyone's had their chance except for the mayor here in a minute. But, I want to first shout out to Mayor Pro Tem Mormon on sharing information because I did question a lot around this. And him and I had a good conversation. And he provided me some information that helped me understand the intent of this. And first and foremost, I think we got to look at the word competitiveness and the vitality of a community. And even the windstorm you're referring to, I mean, some of the competitiveness could be just having a resilient neighborhood that oxygen stays on for people when they are, needing it. So just looking more, to me, it's a little bit more at the resiliency level. But also, you're also hitting on things like I've always had a concern around is all the blacktop, everything we do around parking. And I think you hit two birds with one stone when you talk about shade and street shade and so forth. And Mayor Pro Tem Mormon gave me Cool but Older and got to read all about what they're trying to do, which I'm pretty interested in how they're creating an environment to cool the temperatures. And I've said this for years. So this may be able to give the city the empowerment to make some decisions around, how do we look at parking lot islands? What is we have to balance xeriscape with, and this is a tough one, I've got the experts all sitting up there, but balance water needs and then the shades needs, because I still think trees add a walkable community. That was one discussion we had, is when you have it just sidewalk, no shade, it doesn't encourage walkability, which then tells everyone get in a car, turn on the AC and drive. So we've got to strike that balance. And I think if we put this in here, that gives the staff the opportunity to decide how that should look in the long run. So I support it being in there. I'm done with my comments. I'll see if the mayor has any last words.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. I appreciate it. So I also agree with my colleagues, Ambrose and Pfeiffer. I agree with it being in there. I appreciate that we have some flexibility with what we're going to be doing. As the public knows, these are strategic goals. They're fairly high level. It's the top of the mountain summit, and our staff brings the opportunity to, and we have a cameo appearance. Say hi, Tabitha. So with that, it gives our staff the opportunity to adapt and be resilient as we move forward into the future. What the needs may be, we can adjust, we can be nimble, but we know where we want to go and we can develop the plans that will take us to get there. So I want to commend Ms. Gillis and her entire team. I know this plan was a lot of work. And so I want to thank everyone who contributed to it and put their stamp on it so that we could get a really good final product. Thank you.
Okay, and no other comments or questions? All right, I guess I'll be looking for a motion. Councilmember Davis, go for it.
I make a motion that we accept the strategic plan. Do I need more words?
Oh, you need more words? Does she have
There's
more words?
there are alternatives. There's an alternative 2 in the council report.
Yes, with the inclusion of the local economy proposed goal 8.
And this is approving, okay. All right, those in favor? Oh, sorry. Go ahead and press your vote.
Can I, Bob?
Oh, go for it. Councilmember Marriott.
Thank you. So, in spite of that, I will be voting yes here. I think the team's done a really good job crafting this plan, beginning with difficulty putting a group of 7 people together and trying to get something coherent out of them. And I think they've done a really good job of boiling that down. I think these kinds of things are important. It gives the city something to focus on. I am concerned that that these plans oftentimes become so aspirational that we aspire to do all kinds of things that any one of us in our position becomes enamored with, and they make their way into these strategic plans, and that these strategic plans don't become more important than the core business of the city, than the core responsibilities of the city. And so my hope is, and my confidence is, that our city team will keep in mind that cities exist for a couple of very small reasons. Infrastructure, I think our infrastructure and utilities team is doing a great job with that. Parks, obviously, I think we're doing well with that. The citizens review our parks quite positively. We do have a safe community, even though it's not as safe as it used to be. That's more of a regional problem than an us problem, and I think our police department is very well managed. We are failing on our road maintenance part, and I hope we can fix that coming up, and that we don't get distracted by trying to implement loftier goals within a strategic plan before we put in place that core responsibility of doing adequate streets maintenance. But otherwise, I think this is a good plan, and even though it's got something in there I don't like, I will be voting yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott. I just want to make sure we're clear. This is Resolution 24-056, a resolution adopting the City of Arvada 2024-2030 City Council Strategic Plan with the Local Economy Goal 8 for approval. So I just wanted to clarify for that for the record. All votes have been casted. Mayor, how do you vote? Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, Shauna slipped in a real quick speak.
Sorry, yes.
You're good.
I appreciate the explanation of the reporting especially, and I'm voting yes for this, and it would be great for me because I think that part of our role on City Council is to make sure that the city is being held accountable to this plan. So if you could add slide 9, which is like a visual overview of the reporting structure to the final plan, that would help me keep track of like when we're going to see these strategic objectives from here on out.
Okay, I think I heard yes from the mayor. Will you confirm again, Mayor?
Yes.
All right, all votes have been cast, and we have everyone voted yes with the approved absence of Councilmember Frey and Mormon. Next up, we will be discussing and considering Resolution 24-057, a resolution approving the 2024 Arvada Housing Strategic Plan. Ms. Espinoza, I think you're up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm pleased to introduce Pat Noonan, who is chair of the Housing Advisory Committee, to make this recommendation.
Do we have anybody from the Housing Advisory Committee? All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Pat Noonan, and I have the honor of serving as the Housing Advisory Committee Chair in its inaugural year. I'm joined by my colleagues here, and with our other members, we represent a wide variety of experience, ranging from development, finance, property management, local business, nonprofit, lived experience, and policy expertise. Our committee has a deep commitment to housing opportunity, equity, affordability, and a drive to create a lasting positive impact. We were first tasked with writing the Arvada Housing Strategic Plan in our inaugural year, and we bring that to you tonight. I have a couple key takeaways about the rest of my comments. Number one, I'd like to share a little bit about what's led up to the plan before you tonight. Number two, I'd like to highlight a couple key elements of the plan. And number three, I'd like to ask for your approval to advance this plan to support Arvada's role as a great place to live. First and foremost, I want you to understand that this is a thoroughly developed plan. It was a year-long process examining unique challenges Arvada faces. But in fact, beyond just the year that we spent working on the Housing Strategic Plan, there was a lot of additional work that went into this. We see it as a starting point and not the end of the conversation tonight, and there truly is a long road ahead. The plan first started with funding from the state's Innovative Affordable Housing Planning Grant Program. That kicked off a long and meticulous process that included an update of 2020 housing assessment conditions to capture major housing market changes, especially considering the COVID-19 pandemic. The Housing Strategic Plan incorporates a new comprehensive community engagement survey to ensure workers and residents of Arvada had a voice. A few plan highlights. One of the earlier strategies called out in the plan was the creation of the Arvada Affordable Housing Fund. This work is underway as the Housing Advisory Committee created criteria to be updated annually to help the city maintain focus on what needs to be addressed in a coming year. The remainder of the strategies in the plan are less prescriptive by design. We'd like big picture adaptability over a how-to manual that may quickly become obsolete. Broadly, the recommendations can be grouped into two policy levers, those being financial assets and zoning modifications. Specific strategies are nested within each layer and prioritized accounting to city resources, constraints, and anticipated impact. These strategies are not unique to Arvada, but our recommended prioritization is. We thought deeply about the need to balance between impact, financial strain, administrative burden, and public consideration. A few priorities rose to the top, including land banking, creating local funding sources for affordable housing, preservation, development incentives, and the development of best practices for affordable land use and zoning. Some priorities under the strategic plan could be met with a simple ordinance. Others would require a significant amount of additional research and vetting. Preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing is both vital for diverse housing stock, but may not be a mechanism to yield true long-term affordability in an efficient way. That said, we see it as critical to include in our housing strategic plan, as it's a way to challenge the city and ourselves to see this priority realized. Another example of a priority within the housing strategic plan is the creation of a local funding source dedicated for affordable housing. We saw in the community engagement survey results that over 50% of Arvada residents were in favor of an impact fee to support housing affordability. Significant more research would need to be done to navigate this complex and difficult endeavor. With that, we'd like to ask for your approval tonight. The plan would play an important role in creating and maintaining a version of Arvada that reflects our values, a city welcoming and supportive of all people, regardless of their wealth. This vision imagines Arvada as a vibrant and diverse community where residents can live, work, and grow, where businesses can thrive with happy, healthy, long-term employees that aren't crawling through traffic on I-25. And we heard that echoed in the Chamber of Commerce's comments tonight. We also envision Arvada as a place where residents have true opportunity, and that starts with a roof over your head. I'd like to thank my fellow Housing Advisory Committee members. I think I got all their last names right, but if I mess one up, I apologize. Paul Bunyard, Councilmember Frey, Andrew Hezacker, Roger Jones, Tim Rogers, Matthew Waddell, Harrison Wilterdink, with a special thanks to my Vice Chair, Mindy Moore. Very grateful to City Council for the opportunity to share with you tonight and for your consideration of approving the Housing Strategic Plan. I'd like to ask for your approval, and I'd like to ask you to get to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Ambrose.
Yeah, there's one chart that wasn't, or maybe it was included on the presentation workshop last week, but I'm just seeing it now on page 14 that shows that funding the housing fund would have the largest impact out of all the policy proposals. And Mindy's like, I don't know why that is. I can show you right here where it has fund the AAHF as the highest, having the highest impact, even the most expensive. And I just wanted to know why that one in particular would have the most impact. Is it because of what you've seen with the existing funding you've been able to unlock with it, or is that just, it's just a graph and we shouldn't, base all of our decisions on it? But I was curious about that in particular.
My take on that question would be, we've seen the ability over time to pull different policy levers across different communities, and we've seen all sorts of strategies deployed both in the metro area, across the state, across the country, and it's really kind of led to the crisis we're in now, and we need to come up with some bigger, bolder plans to tackle the crisis head on. And that starts with having funding and resources to do just that. We want to talk about preserving naturally occurring affordable housing. We recognize that there are a number of market pressures on those housing types to increase rents, to become less affordable. If we want to meet that head on, having funding to be able to address that will go a long way compared to some of the other policy levers we could pull that may not have as deep of an impact.
Can I just add one thing to that, just a little bit of a historical context. So the state of development right now it's mostly being done as private-public partnership. A lot of the current strategies to build and preserve and rehabilitate affordable housing requires unlocking the private sector and private money. So I think because of this, the ability to fund some of these projects is going to be really impactful, because it kind of just is working with the mechanisms that we already have. And of course, we're never going to be able to fund the level of, LIHTC or CHAFA, but in adding our little bit to help a project come to closing, we can leverage, the one that pops into my head right now is the Legacy Senior Residence Project. That's going to be 72 units. We're lending $840,000 into it. That's $12,000 per unit for an affordable housing unit that's going to be affordable for the next 30 years. So really, we see the Affordable Housing Fund and contributing gap financing. Not only can it be leveraged against the private market and some other public sources, it just becomes really, really powerful in terms of long-term affordability. And, we don't need a history lesson, but I think that we have seen that if there is too much sort of government overreach, we end up with, frankly, some very dilapidated public housing projects. Those were historically built, through policy and not necessarily through leveraging funding. And when the appetite for that particular model died down, we started looking to the private sector. So that's, I think, something that's one of the reasons why the ability to add gap financing to these projects just becomes extra powerful.
Thank you, Sam. That's Sam Bradley, the city's Affordable Housing Development Specialist.
Thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments? Councilmember Marriott.
Got a couple questions for you. So I think one of the things I see in here is one of your recommended strategies is changing land use. So upzoning in some places, at least some places. I think that would suggest that there's not enough land in Arvada that's zoned to a high enough density to accomplish your goals. Is that what you're saying with this, or can you expand a little bit more on your desire to have more dense zoning around Arvada, and what exactly you're trying to accomplish there and how that might happen?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So upzoning, changing zoning, density bonuses, that's kind of just low-hanging fruit. And Arvada does have a fair amount of land that is already zoned as mixed use, but most of that land is held by private owners, and we can't force them to sell it. So the strategy that most developers are going with right now is when a piece of land does come up for sale, when an owner is interested in selling, that's the piece of land they go for. And that land may be properly zoned and it doesn't need any additional bonuses or density or anything of that nature. But if it does, we're thinking that that could be a very easy tool that could be available to the city to help encourage development. Because at the end of the day, we can't really compel landowners to sell the land that is already zoned the way we want it to be. That's sort of where that's coming from.
So what would stop a developer or an individual from purchasing a piece of land and then requesting whatever zoning they would like?
So they are free to request it.
Okay.
You can request anything, but it's definitely would have to make sense for the city. I don't think someone can go and buy, a block of, say, a block in a, R1 single family neighborhood and say, hey, I want to put, 2-story duplex townhomes across this row of a block. I think that is something that would need additional approval. But I think what we can do is if you purchase something that's already zoned for multifamily, sort of a conditional approval process of maybe they want to add an extra floor, maybe they want to reduce parking, maybe, and it's not always density too. One of the recommendations, I believe, was the ability to build Juliet balconies, which are kind of like those fake balconies. You open the window and you kind of get like a nice breeze, but it's not, a true space that you can go outside on. That's something that affordable developers are looking for because it's, much less expensive to do that type of balcony and then provide a communal open space somewhere else. So it really just depends, but I think it's important to have it in there because it is such low-hanging fruit. There's no real cost to the city besides evaluating the proposal and the site plan, which frankly we're going to be doing anyway.
Councilmember Marriott, if I can also just add as the director, if you refer to page 12 and you look at that incentive, it's essentially number 7. There's very discrete items that are listed in there that are really not talking about rezoning. It's really about unlocking opportunity, which also just want to add that the state legislature has also made some mandatory changes to how we're going to be reviewing certain types of housing projects, especially around multimodal transportation along our train lines. And this is really, and that also includes some parking minimums that have been prohibited, especially in residential areas that we no longer have any control about. We're going to be coming back and briefing the City Council on all of the legislation that's going to be impacting Arvada, how that will impact our land development code and the changes that we have coming up. But really a lot of these are more about, should we be allowing or considering density bonuses? Would we be allowing other opportunities to fast track, which, by the way, Proposition 123 already obligates us to do that. So a number of these things we will already be implementing, some of it because of law, others because it just makes good sense, and we'll be bringing all of those back to the City Council for your consideration.
Okay, so 2 questions for you. So I see the overall title, which is to implement land use and zoning modifications to unlock supply, and then you've got 6 items listed. Are those 6 items limited? Like, in other words, it'll be those 6 items and nothing more, or are those just i.e. things such as?
Thank you for that question. The majority of what's listed there we would go after those explicitly because those are items that we've discussed not only with the Housing Advisory Committee but with the public. As other items or opportunities may come up, we'll bring those back to the council for your consideration, in addition to bringing it back to the Housing Advisory Committee to vet some of those ideas and make sure that we have a pretty firm understanding of it before we bring it before you for
The other thing I was going to say is, we're already doing this, right? Like, we have subsidized housing can be taller, right, than non-subsidized housing. I think you can allow an extra floor on it. We already have parking reductions if it's subsidized housing versus if it's not.
We do have a few items in place that allow us some of that flexibility, but for density bonuses, that's not built into our land development code. That's something we would need to bring back to you for additional consideration. And some of these ideas that came up were in conjunction with like Proposition 123 or with the potential for House Bill 1313, not knowing if they were actually going to be signed into law. So some of these we are already doing. Some of it we actually just need to start doing more of.
Okay. All right, so let me ask you another question. The Housing Committee or Sam, you can answer this. So on one hand, I see these policy levers and this desire to create more housing or less expensive housing. That's what this is all about, by land use and zoning. And to me, that's only just more density in more places. But that being what it may. I don't see anything in here that addresses the other side of the aisle or the other side of the equation, which is the cost to actually build something. And so in my time here on council, we take action after action after action, one after another. We've taken several this year that make housing more expensive. I've never seen us in a decade here take a single action that makes housing less expensive. And I would think that a review of city codes and city building practices and things like that might be something that would be worth doing, to look at the other side of the coin of how do we make housing cheaper. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We're going to be asked to adopt the 2021 building codes, which includes a energy conservation code, and it's full of a whole bunch of green building stuff and all that add a bunch of expense to build something. In fact, City of Louisville and Superior had already adopted those codes and had to unadopt them or make exceptions to those because all the people who lost their houses in the fire couldn't rebuild their houses for anywhere close. And there was a lot of debate about, you heard estimates ranging wildly from $5,000, it's only $5,000 more expensive and they'll save that money in the first 3 years, so they should just do it. It's better off, to actual builders who said, no, this will cost $150,000 extra and it'll take 2 people's lifetimes to make up the difference in cost. And I think there's a lot of disagreement on those. But I don't see anywhere in this strategy or anything where the Housing Advisory Committee has looked at those. Let me mention another one. Here in Arvada, every address is required to participate in the city trash program. Well, that's it's a utility, but it's a cost that you have no ability to affect. You can't turn your thermostat down and pay less. You can't take your trash to your dumpster at work. You can't do anything. We took that action and we made housing more expensive. And I would think a housing strategy would contain not only just, how do we upzone and how do we, build more housing with more, development, land use and zoning, but how do we make housing less expensive by reforming some of the things we already have, by making some things easier. I gave this example a couple weeks ago at our workshop about, we talk about, naturally occurring affordable housing. In Arvada, if you want a fence, you've got to get a building permit to build a fence. If you own a rental property but you don't live there, you can't get a building permit to build a fence or replace a hot water heater or put in new windows or put in a new door or do any number of things that are pretty common. So that's a policy that the city could change. And I would hope that as part of a strategy to preserve naturally occurring affordable housing or existing housing or build new housing that can be cheaper, because that's the whole strategy here is about cheaper. We're not talking about building better, we're talking about building cheaper. There's nothing that addresses any of that. Did you guys discuss that at all or think of that as you were going through the process, and why did nothing there end up here?
Councilmember Marriott, may I speak to
Sure,
the questions
please.
that you had about the building code?
Yeah.
First, we're actually going to be moving towards the 2024 set of building codes, and we'll be bringing that information back to the council later on this year so we can explain.
Okay.
There are some mandates by the state for for the energy code that has to be adopted. I would say that is so far afield from where the Housing Advisory Committee is. They don't, nor should they be involved in those discussions, and we want to bring that back to the council for your consideration. And the reason why we have building codes is for life and safety preservation. That it's also an equity issue, and if we were going to say, we'll allow all new construction except for affordable housing to be built to these standards, then we're essentially telling people, your lives are not as important. We're going to make this easier for you to keep things cheaper, but your safety may be compromised. And so I think that's a healthy debate we can have later, but suffice it to say, it's really important that we not only have a consistency with our building codes, but that we're also consistent with our neighboring communities, which are all on about the same timeline as we are. With respect to fences and issues like that, that's something I can bring back to our building division. We can talk about that, but again, some of that just comes down to life and safety and making sure that the property owner is aware of things that are being built on their property that a tenant may be proposing. So again, that's not really in the purview of the Housing Advisory Committee, but I'll defer if they have any additional comments.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for those answers.
And I just wanted to add that we do consider the cost of building housing when we look at zoning incentives. The zoning incentive, if we're going to get straight to the brass tacks of it, it's to make construction costs cheaper. By reducing parking is expensive. Reducing parking makes your per unit cost cheaper. Adding an additional floor will make your per unit cost cheaper. You have better leverage. What was a couple of the other things? So it does. So we do consider that, and that is the whole reason why we have these affordable incentives. It's not to make bigger buildings. It's not to have smaller parking. It's not to have different types of buildings. It is so at the end of the day, the total development cost of the project comes down. That's also why we are recommending including a fast track process, is because so many construction costs escalate while a proposal is under examination by a city team. So by reducing that administrative burden and pushing it through, developers can capitalize on GC rates before they go up. So there is a monetary tie to this with the zoning.
Okay, thank you. Thanks both of you for those answers. Honestly, I'm not satisfied with either of those answers. I appreciate you giving them, and I appreciate the discussion, the continuing discussion. I think this is a comment, so this isn't a question. But my comment to this is, we seem to be, these types of things seem to be only in the category of how do we subsidize more housing, and really it boils down to the holy grail, I think, for the subsidized housing advocates is how do you develop local subsidies for housing? Every one of these strategies, in one way or another, involves somebody else paying for somebody's housing some way, whether it be directly or hidden. And I appreciate that, and I realize that that's what these days we euphemistically call affordable housing. I tend to be honest and just call it subsidized housing, but and I understand that's what affordable housing is by and large, is just subsidized housing where someone else is paying for somebody else's housing impartial. But I would have hoped that if we're going to adopt housing strategies that are unique to us, that we would have looked at it bigger, tried to be bolder, and this strikes me as a kind of a work product that you pay a consultant for, that they market and sell, and they sell it to every city, and they might cut and paste here or there or change the order of things or whatnot, but you're just buying somebody's off-the-shelf work product, and my hope had been that we could do better than that, both in big ways and small ways, and I just wish this were better, and my hope is that a housing advisory committee, that you will talk broadly as you go forward, and don't become just laser focused on how do we develop local subsidies to fill our Arvada housing, affordable housing fund, and that's all we do, and that you're absent for these policy discussions that we're going to have about building codes, and that, you know, we have, you know, policy decisions that we can make, and when we make, you know, utility decisions, and when we talk about, you know, water and sewer rate increases, because those go into the price of people's housing, that we look at this bigger than just this report, which to me says really only one thing, which is we got to zone more property for high density. We're going to make it easier and quicker and cheaper for people who are building subsidized housing, but we're not going to improve for anybody else. I think that faster, quicker, cheaper would be good for everybody who's trying to develop in the city, and would, yes, yield less cost in housing. And then this desire for local subsidy. I mean, I'm just hoping that we can, as we move forward, that we can be a little bit better than that. So that's all I have.
May I respond from the Housing Advisory Committee?
Please do.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate your comments. I guess I see our housing strategy as more than just subsidized housing, a strategy. I see it as a strategy for promoting housing diversity, which is mentioned across the city, both rental and home ownership opportunities. So changes to zoning, incentives. It's more than just subsidized rental housing. Councilmember Marriott, I think regarding incentives to bring down the cost of housing, if our city attracted a modular housing developer to help bring down the cost of housing, to bring more workforce and attainable housing, for example, in parts of Arvada, for example, West Arvada, which desperately needs workforce housing. I mean, I see this as opening a door to a lot of opportunities, not just all we have is assisted housing, LIHTC housing. I see it as much broader than that. So, thank you.
I do have some comments. So Councilmember Marriott, the way I look at it is, you know, the tap fees were at one point, we were one of the lowest, I don't know, bottom 3 or 5 in the metro. But yet the new houses who pay the tap fees, the market drove the price. And you've said this all the time, the market drives it. And, let me finish my thought process and then you can respond. That, even though we were the third lowest, whatever, teens, I went and looked at the model home that I purchased out in Candelas, all the way out in Parker, and it was for the exact same price, but their tap fees were double, triple what we were charging at the time my house was built. But the price didn't change. The market drove that price rate. So even if the city waived fees and did things, the market drove that dollar amount. And it's only good on the new houses. It's not good on the resale, because when you resell, the market drives the price. So I think that if you think of the strategies that they're looking at, it's not subsidized. It's just trying to figure out the formula to get the price to come down without subsidizing. Because if we went around and said waive all the tap fees, guarantee you they would not have lowered the price $35,000.
So I just want to answer to you. I didn't say anything about tap fees.
Well, I'm just using an example.
I think I said utility rates, but I don't advocate in any way us lowering our tap fees.
And
I understand exactly what you're saying. And by the way, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I'm not talking specifically to tap. I'm just using that as an example of one that was used before that we've talked about, of saying, well, shouldn't we not raise the tap fees so we can keep houses affordable? That's just an example. It's not literal. It's just an example of the city could cut things here and there. At the end of the day, the price is not going to come down.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you on that point. On that point, particularly with regard to tap fees, I have no disagreement with you. With you at all. That wasn't kind of what I was talking about, but I understand your point. I agree.
And it is what it is. Now, I will say the one thing I do get concerned with that section. Your up zoning and stuff really worries me, especially if you're talking about fast tracking and administrative. We need to cautiously walk through that. That has not done us favors the way we've done. It has since we've updated the land use process. It's actually, I think, caused some concerns and we haven't seen any lately that have been, coming as much, but prior to you, Jessica, being here, there was some things that, we thought, shoot, that should have come through council to look at. There was too much public comment. And I think we stumbled through the new process. So I'd be a little cautious about anything that would bypass city council, especially if you're adding another story in a residential area. She keeps referring that, just the same comment I just made, adding a story to a house or to an apartment complex doesn't always lower the market rate. What I find is they're just seeing more money coming in. At least all the years I've been up here, it's just more revenue in the pockets of the developer. So there'd have to be strategies that are clearly understood that says, if I'm adding a whole floor, am I going to get a 20% reduction in market rate for another whole floor? I don't know what that looks like, but that would have to be figured out.
Thank you for the comment, Councilmember, and we'll bring any changes to the Land Development Code back to you, including what I just mentioned, which is that the state is actually mandating a fast-track process for certain residential development, and we don't have a choice. So we'll bring that back to you and let you know what that's going to entail, but that will require changes to our code.
And we just need to understand what the fast track is that they're forcing us to do.
So do we.
Yeah, so
by the
once
way.
you figure that out, then come back and share it with us. Are there any other comments or questions from council or the mayor?
I just wanted to add one quick note, John, on your point, which is a very valid point. And as the relative greenhorn to the whole, this side of affordable housing, not just experiencing it from being a small business person, is this problem is large, right? It's widespread. It's not just Arvada, it's the entire state and in some cases the country. So when we devised this plan, it was basically, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. And there's a lot of cost-cutting things that could be put into this. And, to Mindy's point, this is just kind of the beginning, right? We've had 4 meetings. We've done a year's worth of work. We've done a lot of work. But there is still more work to be done, especially on the cost. Like, don't get me started on construction defects, right? Like, there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and there's access to it. And I think increasing the supply, to Sam's point of the low-hanging fruit, I think that was kind of the mindset behind going at it from this direction. I don't know if that answers the question at all.
All right, seeing no other questions, I'll look for a motion. Councilmember Ambrose.
I move that R24-057, a resolution approving the 2024 Arvada Housing Plan, be approved.
Yes, Councilmember Marriott. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I need to turn that on for you all. Sorry, I'm not pushing the right buttons. Go for it.
So I just want to make a comment before we vote. I'm going to actually be voting no here, and not because I don't value the work that you guys have all done, or that our housing specialist has done, or certainly that our Community and Economic Development Division has done. I think you've done great work. My complaint with this housing strategy is it's insufficient. It's inadequate and it's insufficient. And I think I worry about several things with it. You mentioned you met 4 times to develop a housing strategy. That seems pretty thin, pretty slim. I would rather see something probably that's a little bit more. I don't necessarily want more detail or want more here, but I guess I would like to see more, maybe more broadly considered. This housing strategy really is exactly the same as a workshop we heard in 2017, but it seems very, very little has changed other than the things that we can't control, which is things like Prop 123 and actions that the state have taken, and we have to take care of those anyway. I also want to note that some of the things in this strategy we've been doing anyway, and so enshrining them into a strategy, something that we're already doing, doesn't seem like much of a strategy to me. And I'll call out, the subsidized housing building, the Ralston Gardens one at Ralston Road and Garrison, where we allowed them to build it without balconies because the developer just said, hey, look, they just cost too much, and people who live in these types of developments don't value them anyway, and so we'd rather spend a little more money on another amenity and not have that. And I think the council rightly considered that, and I think came to the right decision. And I don't think that was a very difficult thing to do. So I think even though a developer might say, look, just let us do what we want to do, they're going to act in their interests first. And I think it's okay, like Mr. Pfeiffer, I think it's good for the council to have some check on that. So I worry a little bit about when those things make it into a strategy, because then there's the reason why we should do that, and these things kind of tend to get adopted. I also, I come around to, and I appreciate, Andrew, your point about, look, this is a big problem. This is a regional problem. I agree 100%. This has always been a regional problem. Arvada can't solve it. We can play a piece, but we can't solve for the region. And in fact, if we built 10,000 housing units, subsidized housing units in Arvada, every one of them would be full. And the same stories would be told about, the fast food worker who can't afford the apartment that they live in because 10,000 wasn't enough and needed to be 20,000 or 40,000 or 60,000, because someone in Littleton who can't get a subsidized unit there, if they could get one in Arvada, they'd come get one in Arvada, So I think people can move around, and so I don't think that we should look to things like this as solving it. I think these are regional issues that we need to participate regionally, and I think we have done that. Our history has been we've done that. We have worked very cooperatively with LIHTC developers in my time up here. I haven't seen a single proposed LIHTC project that received its LIHTC funding get turned down by the city council or modified out of existence or anything like that. We have been very, very cooperative with that. And so, I'm sure I'm the only one. I don't think you have any risk here, but I just feel like we haven't met the mark here with this thing. I think we have, I employ a lot of people who make from minimum wage and up, and the people I employ are all doing fine with their housing. They're just doing it in a different definition than these definitions. My minimum wage employees, or my employees that earn less than $20 an hour, don't expect that they get to rent their own place at an affordable rate for them. They have roommates or partners or something, and several of them split it, and they live great. They live just fine, but yet we have this we tell this story of this desire to make it so someone who works at McDonald's can afford their apartment. They get to live all by themselves, and that was a luxury I didn't have till I was nearly 30 because I couldn't afford it. I had roommates and different way of doing it. And I think that's the way the vast majority of housing is. And I think one of the things that I would love to see in this strategy is some things that help that biggest block of housing, which is people who are kind of making their way. So anyway, good luck with your continuing conversations. I hope over time that this will continue and we hear more about it as we go.
Councilmember Ambrose, do you want to speak or vote?
Yes, I'll speak to this. I really appreciate that you worked with the Arvada Chamber of Commerce and identified workforce housing, and also the speakers who came and spoke tonight about teachers who are moving away, about people who are not having children, about people who are experiencing homelessness but have really great potential, like getting a full ride to the School of Mines, that these are the people who are experiencing homelessness at a great rate. And it affects me personally too. My mom retired and cannot afford to live here. She's going to move to Portugal next month because it is cheaper to live in Portugal than it is in Arvada, Colorado. And my brother's going with her. Up until then, since 2020, my brother and mother have lived with me because that's how they were able to survive this affordability housing crisis. So it's not just low-income workers, it's not people, that experiencing homelessness. It is across the whole range of people needing housing, and it is a regional issue. Denver needs 53,000 homes to even start to begin to address the affordable housing. And there's a lot of things that go into the market costs of housing, and I appreciate that this, looking at the 2020 plan, this does seem to be a much more robust plan of what you're planning to do to be able to meet the markers better of being able to provide affordable housing. And I appreciate you working with the business community especially to make sure that we have the housing so that people who work for the city government, people who are paramedics, people who work are teachers and things like that can have a more inclusive community. So thank you very much for this plan.
If I can have your vote. I'll just make a comment. Maybe I'll get to see my city council check. My oldest son takes it every time I get paid my 300 and some change after taxes. So, and he's a mental health clinician and he doesn't make enough to live. So, Mayor, how do you vote?
Yes.
And all votes have been casted. And we have, I guess that's 4 in the yay, 1 in the no, which is Councilmember Marriott, and Councilmember Foray and Mormon have excused tonight. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next consideration of Resolution 24. Oh, sorry. I've been requested a 5-minute break. Do you mind if we all take a 5-minute break? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologize. Are we all ready? I can't see the Zoom. Okay, just want to make sure Mayor Simpson's back. I'm going to assume she is, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next resolution. Now you got me all messed up there. Yeah, both of you guys took me off my pace here. So next we'll consider Resolution 24-058, a resolution authorizing 2 lease agreements by and between the City of Arvada and the United States Postal Service for the lease of the building at 5885 Allison Street and for the lease of the parking lot at 5886 Ammon Street, and authorizing a commission agreement with Jones Lang LaSalle Americas, Inc. I believe Kim Vager is going to... Oh, there you are. Way over there. I was looking for you.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council members. And tonight I'm seeking your approval of a new lease agreement with the United States Postal Service. Existing lease expired on September 30th of 2022. We've been through 20 months of negotiations for the new lease. Some highlights of that lease are the term is 5 years, dated back to October 1st of 2022, ending on September 30th of 2027. Unless terminated sooner, which options are for both parties to terminate, and they also have the option to extend for another 5 years. The city utilized Integra Realty resources for the property appraisal, and we got the fair market value from their appraisal. The rent amount increased from $48,386 per year to $178,260 per year. That's for the building. The parking lot went from $120 a year to $43,920 per year. The commission fee with the Jones Lang LaSalle was requested at 4%. We negotiated that down to 2% for $17,826. The new rent value is retroactive to October 1st of 2022. The retroactive payment of $267,238 is due 60 days from the final lease agreement. So a little bit of background for the members that weren't here when we purchased the facility. It was purchased by the city on May 18th, 2015 by Resolution 15-074 in the amount of $1,116,000. That original purchase, we assumed the lease, so we assumed the lease terms with the post office. The purchase intention was to provide additional space for expanding growth at the City Hall campus. That was per the 2016 facility master plan, and that master plan has been approved to be updated for this year and next year. In conclusion, the Arvada team recommends that the City Council approve Resolution 24-058.
All right. Ms. Rush, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this resolution? All right. Any questions or discussion from council? Yes, Councilmember Marriott.
So I have a couple questions, Mr. Vager. How big is the building? How many square feet is it?
17,426 feet. Okay. Square feet.
And so do you know what and how many spaces is the parking lot?
76.
76 spaces.
So I got $10 a square foot for the fair market value.
Okay.
And $35 a parking spot per year.
Okay, got it. And is that a triple net lease or is that a gross lease?
Triple net.
Triple net. So they're taking care of all the upkeep and maintenance and with some limited exceptions.
Except for the capital. So we do the capital maintenance.
Do the capital maintenance, and they do all the ongoing.
That's correct.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, I appreciate it.
The intent, is to be cost neutral with the lease recovery and the capital costs. The building is 52 years old, so we're getting into a little bit of a heavy maintenance period.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Ambrose. Okay, there's no other questions. You may make the motion.
I move that R24-058, a resolution authorizing 2 lease agreements by and between the City of Arvada at the United States Postal Service for lease of the building at 5885 Allison Street for lease of the parking lot at 5886 Ammon Street, and authorizing a commission agreement with Jones Lang LaSalle Americas Incorporated be approved.
Councilmember Marriott.
Yeah, so I just want to make a comment. I will definitely be voting yes, and I want to say good job. I think this sounds like fair. In fact, I would love to find this deal on Kipling and I-70. So if you see something similar to this, please let me know. But I think this is good work by the city team, and for the residents out there, we purchased this. I'm going to say it was 4 or 5 years ago. Could be longer than that. And this current lease, obviously, we will have some capital maintenance costs to take out of the lease, but this will pay back the city in about 5 years. We will have ended up paying back what we paid to purchase the building, and then we have that in place as a future possibilities as the needs of the city may or may not change in the future. It being located where it's attached to the City Hall campus made it just something that we couldn't do anything except say yes to purchasing when it became available. And now, here some years later, shows that was a really wise decision, a really good move to have made. And so I appreciate you guys doing the work after that terrible old lease expired and getting us into the right position here. And I wish the post office success there. I hope they stay there for 10 years because then we'll actually make some money. So I appreciate that too. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Ambrose. You want to cast your vote? Oh. Okay, all votes have been cast. Mayor, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, and that passes all that are present, excused Councilmember Frey and Mormon from the vote. All right, let's move on to consider Resolution 24-049 and a resolution authorizing a non-exclusive easement agreement between the City of Arvada and the City and County of Denver, acting by and through its Board of Water Commissioners for the Denver's Water's 2-inch rigid PVC coated conduit for communication cable and appurtenances. What is
appurtenances?
Well, that's what I was starting to think it was. Yeah. So wondering what that is actually. So I'll hand that over to, who are we doing that? Mary, are you doing that? Thank you.
Thank you, Council. As part of Denver Water's North System renewal, which includes the North Water Plant, they also built new conduits and new communications along that corridor. As part of the communications, that included some equipment that is just outside the conduit corridor. This easement it's non-exclusive, but will give Denver Water the ability to have that communications equipment just adjacent to the conduit. It's about 650 square feet. It's just north of the Ralston Water Treatment Plant, and staff recommends that that you approve Resolution 2404. Sorry, I need glasses for that. 9.
And I need somebody to help me say that word. So let me go ahead and say, Ms. Rush, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I saw Councilmember Ambrose. Do you have a question? Motion? Who's
I
doing
move that R24-049, a resolution authorizing a non-exclusive easement agreement between the City of Arvada and the City and County of Denver, acting by and through its Board of Water Commissioners for Denver's Water's 2-inch rigid PVC coated conduit for communication cables and appurtenances
there you go.
be approved.
Okay, Mayor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, all votes have been cast. That passes 5-0 with Councilmember Frey and Mormon being excused tonight. All right, now we have first reading. We have no ordinance in first reading or public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to the next agenda item. Next on the agenda is a second public comment time. Is there anyone in the council chamber who wishes to make a public comment? Anyone on Zoom? All right. Now reports from the council. Any reports from the council? Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes, I just wanted to share that we had a good meeting with the Jeffco Public Schools Board members. We have a liaison meeting once a quarter. No new business really to report. I know the public is very interested in what is happening to a lot of the buildings that have been closed or are considered for what the school board is going to do with them. And so I would encourage folks to check out the workshop presentation that the school board gave us a month or so ago about their process of determining what to do with their properties that they've closed. Once they've designated it as surplus property and to be of sale, we have the right of first, what is it called?
Refusal.
Right of first refusal, or right of first refusal, which basically means that the city is able to purchase a building first. Now, the price point has to be something that is good for the school board because every government agency needs money. So they're not going to give us whatever facility it is for free. But if you want to know what the status is and their determination, if they're going to be surplusing it or what's going on with it, or if you have interest in the buildings, please feel free to reach out to the city. But the best place to get the information is on the Jeffco Schools website, where they have a tracker, a dashboard of properties that they're surplusing or they're keeping, or what is going to be happening with those. As the schools were built in the center of many of our neighborhoods, it's an extremely important issue for Arvada, and I appreciate all the residents who have reached out to me about schools, and do please check the Jeffco website. And if the city happens to get the property, feel free to give your input then as to what should happen with it, but it will be aligned with our strategic plan if we are going to purchase the building. But we don't have, we're not planning on buying all of them or anything. The other thing that was communicated to the school board, as Councilmember Marriott really wanted to emphasize, is Wolf Park with Arvada K8, and making sure that that intergovernmental agreement continues to be honored even as that property is considered what the school wants to do with it. But I think at this point they have not considered whether that is going to be Arvada K through 8 is going to be surplus property available for sale just yet. It's still going through that determination process, but the school board is very clear that we want to keep Wolf Park a park and have the intergovernmental agreement respected there.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gillis, do you have any reports for us?
I do.
Okay.
First off, I want to thank you for the adoption of the strategic plan. The team is busy working on the internal implementation plans, and they're already getting busy with it. So this just gives us that extra fuel to move forward. So thank you for that. I would also be remiss not to mention Elizabeth Blythe and the work that she has done on that plan. She just tonight wrote me a message about thanking me for letting her support it, and what you need to hear loud and clear is she is leading this work, and I am very appreciative of her work and working with the leadership team. They can be a rowdy bunch, and she's done a great job getting us all lined up. Also want to say no meeting next Monday on May 27th. On June 3rd, there is a business meeting. On June 10th, there is a meeting where we will receive an update from our lobbyists and get a lot of more detailed information about what happened at the legislative session. We'll also have a bond project update on June 10th. Also want to let you know that we are starting our capital improvement plan meetings this week and budgeting process. And so it all becomes real as far as we're heading down that budget process. So we'll be providing you updates and keeping you informed as far as what else is coming up and what's happening. And then finally, I'm planning not to do a weekly memo on Friday, and just want to make you aware of that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gillis. Ms. Morris.
Nothing for me tonight.
Mayor, safe travels back. I think our meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.